So we're clearly seeing some definite trends. The first trend is around companies, particularly in Southeast Asia, what Towers Watson terms as Asian trailblazers, homegrown Asian multinationals expanding outside of their home countries, not only outside of Asia, but also within Asia. So that's a clear trend we see in terms of Asian trailblazers. The second trend we see is this whole shift, particularly in Southeast Asia, of a primarily manufacturing-based economy, right, which is moving into more knowledge-based economy, right? And the third one is around demographics. We see a changing profile of the workforce, which is primarily because of a huge part of it is very young, due to which the traditional command and control leadership style we see will no longer work. The traditional command and control, more directional style of leadership is no longer relevant. The leaders need to be relevant across multiple contexts, across multiple geographies, across multiple situations. Sure. So we believe that the leaders need to operate across 4 specific dimensions, and these are what we call as envision, inspire, transform, and adapt. So envision is all about creating a vision around a common goal based on your business priorities. Inspire is all about communicating, articulating that vision very, very powerfully with a lot of influence, so that the employees then buy into that vision and are inspired to execute on that vision and achieve results. And the third one is around transform. So it's all about managing change, transforming organizations, and ensuring that the business achieves those business objectives. And the fourth one is around adapt, because clearly the environment is changing very rapidly and it will continue to change. So the leaders need to have the ability to adapt their behaviors, as well as the ability to make sure that their employees also change their behaviors, basically adapt, so that they can then continue to be highly productive. We feel that these 4 dimensions will lead to very effective leadership, which ultimately lead to a very sustainable, a very engaged group of employees. Based on Towers Watson's global workforce study, which was done in late 2012, effective leadership was the #1 driver for sustainable engagement. And again, research shows that sustainably engaged employees lead to higher business performance. So ultimately, effective leadership across these 4 dimensions will lead to sustainably engaged employees, which lead to higher business performance.
Great.
The top leaderships need to clearly, very early on, need to identify leaders and high potentials. And this is what we call a segmentation. You know, traditionally we have seen marketers have done a great job of segmenting their customers so that they can then provide solutions and products based on particular attributes of customers. So what we are suggesting is that, you know, as leaders, we should be also segmenting our employees internally. And then if we have segmented someone as a high potential, right, or leadership material, we need to have specific programs and strategies tailored specifically for these group of people. So once we do that, we can, Towers Watson has a 360-degree assessment tool, which basically assesses employees based on their fit, the drive, and the ability to really rise up the corporate ranks. And based on that, then those identified employees could be put through some specific coaching and mentoring programs. Now, these coaches could be both internal or it could be external, because clearly we find that all employees have blind spots. So these 360-degree tools, assessment tools, really identify those blind spots for the employees themselves and thus, of course, their managers. And then once we identify those blind spots, these coaching and various other tools can actually help those employees address those blind spots. And then once these blind spots are addressed, obviously these identified leaders need to be given more responsibilities, need to be exposed to new situations, and also need to be enabled. It's very important that they continue to be enabled so that they are successful in their new roles. It's also very clear that along with the 4 dimensions which we talked about, the behaviors of humility, of also resiliency, will continue to be important. And particularly in these dynamic environment, the ability to manage conflict, that will also be very, very important. Because you're working across matrix organizations, you will be working across multiple geographies, and there will be conflicts. And effective managers will know how to resolve those conflicts so that ultimately the teams work effectively and they achieve their business goals. Coaching and mentoring. Those are some specific interventions which both HR organizations as well as leaders themselves can actually bring in. And these interventions will be facilitated by 360-degree assessment tools, which really gives you visibility on what the colleagues think and their managers think about this particular individual who is identified as a high potential and leadership material. And it's important to analyze those results out of those tools, and then based on that, the coaching interventions need to plug those gaps, the blind spots which we talked about, which would be surfaced from these tools.